Good morning and welcome back to the London Food Network podcast. Today I'm joined by Cressida from the Free From Food Awards, the podcast where we explore the stories, challenges, innovations driving the UK's food and drink industry. Today I'm actually really excited to talk to you, Cressida. You are the powerhouse behind the Free From Food Awards, the UK's only awards dedicated entirely to celebrating the best in gluten-free, dairy-free, nut-free and other free-from products. For years, the Free From Food Awards have been shining a spotlight on brands that are not just catering to dietary needs, but also redefining quality and creativity in the category. From challenging startups to household names, Cressida and her team have helped shape a movement that's made free from food not just accessible, but genuinely exciting. We'll be diving into how the free from market has evolved, what brands are getting it right, and what the future looks like for innovation in this space. The show is, of course, sponsored by AI Embrace AI Consultancy, where we help other food businesses grow through AI and automation. So without further ado, good morning, Cressida. How are you?
Good morning. Thank you very much for having me, Sebastian. I'm very well, thank you.
So tell me your story. I know we touched on it briefly when we first had a chat, but let us know, how did you get into this? How long ago? Because it was a while ago, right? And you've kind of climbed the ranks and here you are running the show.
Yeah, well, so I took on the job as a magazine subscriptions editor back in 2008, and that was when it was the Free From Food magazine and run by Michelle Berridale-Johnson. And I was only there for a few months when we decided to close the magazine and start an awards. We used to have a sort of a grid in the centre of the magazine, which we would buy lots of cakes or biscuits, and we would gather loads of people together and we would all eat them together, and then we would list their ingredients and their free from credentials and their taste and where you could buy them. And it was a really useful facility for the subscribers. And then somebody said, why don't you turn this into an awards, because that's what people like. So we did, and it's been going ever since. And I took over as CEO in 2019, and we expanded our team and then we shrank back down again. So at the moment there's two of us as well as our wonderful judges, and Michelle is still on board as our chair, and a few consultants here and there. So it's it's good. It's really good. It's a nice team.
I'm curious now, actually. So tell me more about the growing and the shrinking of the team. What happened there?
Well, it was quite strange. We weren't negatively affected by Brexit, and we weren't negatively affected by the pandemic. So we started to grow mid-pandemic, and we took on people to do social media and other marketing things, and we took on people to do sponsorships for us. And we just found that the free from market is very small and it's not exactly sensitive, but it's small enough that actually you don't need a huge amount of people, but you need people who've got the right message and the right attitude. And so we took on some people, and then we decided or realized actually that we didn't need quite such a huge team, because what we were focusing in on was more, it needed more sort of delicate handling in a way. We're not a charity, we're an organisation, but we're not here to make loads of money. We're here to support people on free from diets and manufacturers making free from foods. So we didn't need a vast amount of people to do that. And also when the pandemic hit, I think like a lot of companies, we realised all of the stuff we could cut away from our business. And ever since then, really, that was a massive lesson for us. It was sort of, we've simplified and streamlined, and we've kept pushing things away that just deflect from the focus, which is that support of brands and thereby support of consumers.
Yeah. No, that's why I was curious, because I think a lean team is crucial, particularly in the food industry where margins are low. I'm sure for you as well, the margins are low and you rely on volume and, like you say, a kind of almost delicate approach to stuff, because you can swing one way or another from a positive or negative very quickly if you're not careful.
Yeah, definitely. And that is a really good point, actually. We don't make a huge amount of money. We haven't put our prices up for 5 or 6 years because we're fully aware of the fact that their margins are really low. And, yes, the larger the corporations, the bigger their budget, but the smaller the organizations, obviously, the much lower their budgets.
Yeah, of
And
course.
one of the founding kind of tenets of the Freeform Food Awards is that we wanted the tiny guys to compete on a level playing field with the major guys. And they do, and they still do. And the delight when one of the smaller companies scores a gold alongside one of the massive retailers is
Yeah.
just brilliant. It's brilliant. And they're catering to totally different markets. So although there is competition between small and large, it's of a totally different nature, really.
And is it a different pricing structure depending on the size of the business?
Yeah, so we've refined it again, something else we've refined over the years, but micro pays a much smaller fee than a small company, which is up to, I think, a turnover of about 3 million, and then a large company is over 3 million. So we probably haven't got it quite right, because actually the difference between the micro companies and the corporations is much bigger than, you know, 200,000 or 2 million. It's the big guys are making millions and millions and the small guys aren't. But in Freeform, the margins are even lower, actually. So, I did suggest putting the prices up, and someone just said, no, we need to keep them the same. It's fairer that way, because Freeform isn't mainstream. It's not main category. So we need to support the guys, like the retailers putting putting Freeform on their shelves. They are obviously making money, but they're making probably smaller margins than they are in their main category. Well, I'm sure definitely.
So let's talk a bit more about what the actual awards is, I guess, because I mean, you and I both know what they're about, but I'll be honest with you. I think I said this like when I first spoke to you. I didn't actually know there was these awards. So tell me more about what the awards actually mean, like what the process is. How does it work? What's the structure?
So you pay to enter, and your product has to be available nationwide. Although in recent years we've created a speciality category for regional products, because we appreciate again how important it is for the person who's got their amazing biscuits or breads from their local shop or cafe, and it's wonderful for them to be able to have a award-winning logo. And really, in the beginning, the idea was that we just needed to celebrate and recognize people who were creating incredibly good foods that were free from allergens that people needed to avoid. So obviously back in the day, gluten-free was a big one.
Mm,
Nuts, milk, soya, sesame,
yeah.
eggs, fish, all of that sort of thing. So
So are
we
they all different categories, or is free from? Does that mean literally free from everything?
No, so it doesn't. So free from, if I sort of go way back, free from is not an official term. It's just a term that is recognized as meaning something to someone and something else to someone else.
Yeah.
Makes it quite tricky. So a lot of people feel that free from should refer to a product that is free from all of the top 14 allergens. And then a lot of people say, well, it should be free from, it should refer to, it does refer to sugar or artificial flavorings or all of that sort of stuff. And for our awards, the Free From Awards recognize that in order for the majority to qualify as a free from product, they need to be free of one of the major allergens that would normally be included in the product. For milks, that would be cow's milk or goat's milk, and they're obviously called drinks when they're not made of cow or animal milk. Gluten-free bakery items, but also milk-free and egg-free bakery items or nut-free bakery items. Just so for an example, a few years ago we had a bread that had gluten and wheat in it, but it was nut-free, and it was like a handcrafted, incredibly good sourdough loaf, but it just was nut-free, which apparently is extremely difficult to find. So if you've got a nut allergy, you can't really buy. Yeah.
So sourdough's got nuts in it? No way.
No, not in it, but often it's the may contains. So that's a whole other thing.
Ah, right, right, right.
Yeah. So bakeries that are making breads often will make products with other things in, like almond croissants or whatever it is. Or a lot of the ingredients that they're using will have their own may contains. So you might get a flour or a yeast or I don't know, something else which has a may contain for nuts. And therefore that has to be carried through to the manufacturer and then the end product that they're selling. So there's that element. The may contain, so you can't, if you enter our awards, you can't claim that you're gluten-free and then have a may contain for gluten and wheat,
Yeah, of course.
obviously. But you'd be surprised, a lot of people do. And then
Yeah.
the other added complication is that gluten is currently the only allergen for which there is a testing threshold. So people can say that they're nut free, but they have to do tests or they do tests. So it's really complicated, and there's just so much controversy because
Yeah.
people either don't test correctly or they, I mean, most of the people who are entering our awards are doing a great job. And, every year we see evolutions on their part in terms of removing a certain may contain that,
Yeah.
people feel isn't relevant. And so anyway, people enter and there's one entry form. They fill it in. We receive their product. We make sure that they are eligible and that we feel that they're going to get a, decent, a fair assessment and they're going to have a fair go. And then we get them to send their samples in. We organise judging sessions. We have a venue in London. We have venues down in Hampshire and in Hertford. And we get our lovely judges. Some we've known for years, some will be new. We get people emailing us all the time from either from food industry or from, who just have got children or friends or they're
Yeah.
celiac or allergic or whatever. And so we have a big mixture of judges. We always try to get a food developer or a technologist and a consumer with allergies, and often somebody who maybe doesn't have allergies but just knows about food and things.
Yeah.
And we also have a lot of sponsors, so they come and judge with us. And then we prepare the foods, and they're all served blind. So the judge has the entry form that relates to that product, but we've removed all of the identifiers. So they'll just have, cereal, they'll have the ingredients, the may contains, all that kind of thing. And eat the product, feedback on a private portal. So we capture their feedback and scores, and then at the end, we amalgamate everything and decide the golds, silvers, bronzes, commended. And we have special awards. So for the retailers, they can go have a range of the year prize if their products, if they've got a certain amount, so savoury all through to sweet. And then the same for the smaller brands, so micro and large and small brands can
So we
then
have
get.
one awards a year.
So we have 4 really. We have Easter, all year round products, and those both open and close in January to March. And then we announce the Easter winners in advance of Easter, obviously. All year rounds, we have a big in-person party, so we try and celebrate everybody, and we give everybody. We feed. Our parties are fantastic. We feed everybody with the products that have won. So we have secret shoppers and we go and buy all the products, or we get the samples sent in or whatever it is. And then we have an amazing buffet. And then we have Christmas and Halloween. So we have just announced our Halloween awards, on the 1st of October. And we're just about to next week announce our Christmas award winners, which is brilliant. And we have a steady growth of entries, around about 8% average year on year. So we're really pleased. And it just keeps getting bigger and bigger, which is wonderful.
Well, I was going to say, because I mean, surely at the moment, the free from kind of movement is just getting bigger and bigger, right? I mean, health and well-being and gut health, and because it's not just about allergies. I think a lot of people are turning to free from stuff because maybe they've got intolerances rather than allergies, or perhaps they've just noticed that their body doesn't process these things as well, like
Yeah.
as other things, or maybe it's kind of almost fashionable to be, eating some sort of gluten-free or alternative.
Yeah, well, there's always something which is on trend or off trend, definitely. And you're absolutely right. And we try very hard to stay in our own stream. So, there are other awards that will do well-being and health and, organic, or the organic awards, or the, taste, whatever. But we really try to stay true to that
Kind of
need of the allergic and intolerant consumer. And you're right, there is a lot of crossover. You can be intolerant and also want to be healthy, obviously. Or we had a few years back, we had a big influx of vegan foods that were.
yeah.
So we had, because obviously a lot of people with food allergies and intolerances want to be vegan simply because they don't want to eat any animal products. So we started off with the category of vegan free from foods, and then we had so many vegan entries that we just thought, this is ridiculous. So we just the floodgates. So the vegan foods just entered into all the different categories, and our categories are applied at the end of the award. So the categories are entry driven. So if we,
Okay, so everyone applies and then you
yeah,
categorize instead
yeah,
of applying for
yeah,
a particular category. I get it.
yeah, yeah.
Okay, so I mean, obviously, it'd be nice to post where people can find out more information and the forms and the criteria and all that stuff. So I'll make sure to plug that in on the
Brilliant.
when I list the podcast on all the different channels.
Thank you.
Be interesting to see how that works. Actually, I'm going to look at the application form as well. Actually, yeah, because I talk to a lot of food businesses, particularly with the podcast.
Yeah.
Um, a lot of businesses, I think. Well, correct me here. This is the thing, right? So free from. So let's say there's a kimchi producer. Does that have any free from capacity to say free from because it won't contain gluten, because it won't contain nuts?
No, I mean, yeah, absolutely. It's the same thing for a tomato or anything which has not got. But I mean, I don't know enough about kimchi specifically, but I know that, let's say, often chocolate has a may contain for nuts. So even though a nut-free chocolate might not be, you might not think that that's particularly fantastic in terms of free from. But if there are some people who want to eat milk but don't want to eat nuts, then finding a nut-free milk chocolate is important. So I don't know if kimchi's got a particular history of being related to being made in the same kitchen as a milk product, or whether
No,
it's
not at all. Actually, I'm just thinking of one company in particular that I spoke
yeah,
to, and I thought actually that'd be quite good for them because they're coming in from a kind of environmental perspective, sustainable
yeah,
perspective with the way they make their kimchi.
yeah,
I was just thinking,
yeah.
like, for them, for example, to have a potential award for something that is free from, I think, pretty much everything. I think kimchi and all this kind of stuff is free from pretty much anything because it's,
Yeah, so that is a good point. I mean, we really do, we try to remain open to any product that anyone wants to enter. It just has to be relevant. So, and obviously, because of its very nature, most of the entries into the awards are processed foods, ready to eat foods, or there might be ingredients, but they're more likely to be, a jar of kimchi. So if that was to enter the awards and it was top 40 and allergen free and had no may contains, there are some people around that judging table who would go, "This is fantastic. The kimchi that is in my supermarket has always got may contain for milk and nuts, so now I can get this one. And that's great." Or you might have people go, kimchi wouldn't have anything. So this product
because there's
doesn't
nothing
fit
unique from
in this
that
award.
that separates
Yeah,
it from other kimchi because the
yeah,
nature of the process is X.
yeah,
Okay, I get you.
yeah. And like all of us, people with food allergies and tolerances are totally unique and have their own unique experiences. So some people will need a product. We had a series of ready meals, children's meals entered a few years ago, and the only thing they were nut free. And so they had gluten, they had milk, they had egg, they had everything, and they were nut free. And then people were just like, "This is absolutely brilliant because I've got these freezable ready meals for my kid, so that when I can't bother to cook, I've got these meals in the freezer and they're nut free, and I know my kid can eat them safely, and that's fantastic." But for somebody else, they'd be like, "Well, what's the point? It's got milk,
Yeah,
it's got egg."
yeah.
So it's always incredibly complicated, and you can see why. I mean, you can't cater for everybody, but we try
Yes.
to cater for everybody without it looking too ridiculous, if that sort of
So it's
makes
funny.
sense.
This is why this podcast is so interesting to me because every conversation I have with various people from different industries, completely different industries, sometimes the challenges are always the same, isn't it? In the sense that, like, on the face of it, to me in the beginning, I'd be thinking, oh well, that's a simple thing to run, of course. But the more you're talking, the more I realize there must be an incredibly complex web of all kinds of stuff going on because, like you say, you're going to get all kinds of products in, particularly if you don't have categories as such.
Yeah.
Then you must get a ton of admin to have to shift through to understand the product well enough to see if it's a right fit.
Yeah, we do. I mean, we have a lot of judging sessions, and we also have remote judges. So just to give you an example, around our judging table, we obviously have food experts, and we have a lot of people who know how to cook. So they will make their own Christmas puddings or make their own mince pies or all that sort of thing. And then, so they're highly critical in terms of ingredients, process, all of that kind of thing. So they will have a critical eye on a product. And then that product will also go to families with kids, and they will have their own standards. So they may never have had a gluten, dairy, and nut-free treacle tart or whatever it is. And it might be from one of the retailers and quite a nice low price, which means that they can buy it and not break the bank and they don't have to make it and it's all great. But it'll be a basic product. So we have to weigh up between the critique value of the judges who know about foods,
Yes.
the needs of the family who are just want an afternoon treat for my kids. One of them did well in a spelling test or whatever. It is really complicated, and we love it because at the end of the day, we get lots and lots and lots of medal winners, and in their own right, they all stand out on the shelves or online. Just because in one category you've got 8 gold medals and 5 silvers and 6 bronzes, and people go, "Oh, you're rewarding lots and lots of medals." And you're like, well, yes, we are, because they all deserve a medal. And actually, when they go off to their own environments and universes, their medal will shine and will draw people's attention to their products. And they're not going to be sitting next to all of the people who are in the same category with all of their golds and silvers.
Yeah.
And recently, we've taken on board some of the judging methods from the Great Taste Awards. Which
Okay.
is obviously, it's a fantastic, and it's been going for nearly 50 years, I think.
Really? Has it been that long? Bloody hell.
Yeah, it's definitely over 40 years, I'm pretty
Wow.
sure.
Gosh.
But they are fantastic, and they're incredibly happy to share their knowledge and their methods. So we've used to judge all cakes in one category, all biscuits in another category, but now we might have a gravy, we might have a stuffing ball, a cake, a mince pie, a turkey roast, a pig in blanket, all in the same category, so that we don't get taste bud fatigue, and also so that it's more realistic. So you've got, that's what you would probably eat at a party or on Christmas Day, whatever it is. So, and I know that the Great Taste Awards don't only take into account taste. Like all awards, you always take into account, as you've got a much more holistic view of all the products that you get. So it's working really well, and we're really enjoying the fact that our judges aren't kind of groaning with with pain after 25 minutes.
Yeah, right. And how do people know about you? How do you find getting the word out?
So
What does that look like?
our strongest visual is our logo, and we encourage people to put the logo on their packs, on their websites. A lot of the retailers have them on their barkers in store, which is brilliant. We try to make ourselves available. We've just had a big old analysis on our socials and marketing and things, and found that there are some things that we're doing brilliantly and obviously some things that we're doing terribly. So we try to make sure we evolve every year, and we try to make sure that we stay relevant, and we email people probably far too much. Some people probably not enough for other people. We have Instagram account, which is mostly for consumers so they can find things where to buy, and then LinkedIn account, which I run for businesses to get involved, and judges and sponsors and things. So we try, we're not, Nikki and I are both, my business partner and I are both, I'm almost 50, she's 50. Sorry, Nikki. But so we're not young people we're not TikTok generation, but we are email generation. So we know how to do it, but we probably don't do it quite as well as we should. So we also rely on word of mouth and testimony of people who've really loved entering and loved the whole process, because we're not just about getting a logo. We are also about getting, giving the feedback and that critiquing, that analysis on each product back to the manufacturers, so they can evolve their own products or, NPD, whatever they want to use it for. And our entry fee is massively valuable in terms of that for small manufacturers who don't have big teams of researchers and all that sort of thing trying to make sure that their products are spot on. So we're really, really proud of that, and that people do share that. And I go to shows a lot, and like Speciality and Fine Food Fair, and I meet people and they go, "Oh, I just had someone come by and say we should enter your awards," and you're just thinking that's so lovely. So someone's had a lovely experience and wants to share that, which is great.
Yeah, I was going to say, can anyone enter the awards? Is it just retail? I'm just thinking, like, for example, I interviewed somebody not long ago that makes a gluten-free donut. Very popular, it's done very well.
Ryan.
Ah, yes.
Yeah.
So does he come on? Does he come along?
Yeah, he does. He has judged before, but he also has entered. He won the overall product of the year about, I think it was 2 years ago. Yeah, he's fantastic. So we've known Ryan since he began. So what's that, 10 years ago?
Nice, good to know.
And it's mostly retail, because we want it to be for the consumers to buy and bring home with them and eat, which is another thing. So when we judge the products at the judging sessions, we cook them in-house. We don't have professional chefs making them because they are intended to be for
Yeah, of course.
you, the consumer, to make, with your kids or for your
Yeah,
kids
yeah.
or for yourself or whatever. So we do, it's mostly retail, but we do have a food service category, which is for, anything that goes into food service and
Okay, you do have food service then.
yeah,
Okay.
we do.
I was
Yeah.
thinking because that opens up the door to a lot more businesses, I guess, that kind of
Yeah.
willingly or unwillingly are probably operating in a gluten or in a
Yeah.
free from
Well,
way.
that obviously was a category that was badly affected by the pandemic because
Mm.
shut down. So that is currently sort of being resuscitated. But yeah, it's incredibly important, and we like that very lot.
And so, looking back now, you've been there for quite some time. I mean, almost 20 years. Been what, 17 years, 2008, right?
Yeah.
So, wow. Looking
Yeah.
back now, did you ever kind of question your life choices with this venture you've taken on that seems incredibly complicated? What's been your biggest kind of challenge, I guess, along the journey?
I have to say I've enjoyed every minute of it. I've never worked for a large organization, so I've never been restricted in terms of, I have a son and I spent the majority of my career being single parent, mostly single parent. So I could always work, late evenings, early mornings. I didn't have to go to an office. So I feel incredibly grateful that I've had that freedom and I've managed to make, my work-life balance work. So that's been really
Right.
good. I think when I took on, or just before I started being the CEO, Michelle and I, who had run it mostly together, so she founded it and I was always sort of by her side running it. We decided that we needed to make it more glamorous and more just sort of sexier and less homespun and more elegant. So little touches like changing our logo for our winners from a solid yellow with the word gold on it to a lovely metallic gold color, and little touches like that. I mean, they're really obvious, I know, but when you're in a small company, you sort of don't necessarily think about them because you haven't got so many eyes coming back to tell you. We did have a few people saying to us, your yellow logo is really quite something. Maybe you should change it. And we were like, yeah, but we need it to be eye catching. We need it to be, of us. But we do appreciate that. So I think I suppose what my main aim was to back 5-7 years ago was to give free from the same makeover that veganism had, which veganism went from being something which was sort of worthy and quite sort of bran, like sort of
Yeah.
bran tubby back in the kind of 80s, to something which is, if you're vegan, then you're clearly the sexiest person in the room. So that's what we wanted to do. And obviously, it's a completely different. It's,
Yeah.
it's almost incomparable being vegan and having food allergies, obviously. But that rebranding that happened to veganism, I think, is fascinating, and I sort of want to understand more about how it happened.
Yeah, it was a big movement. I think it feels like it's kind of died off a little bit. And mostly, I think
Yeah,
because simply, well, this is my take on it from a lot of conversations I've had, and my own opinion is that vegan went too extreme and it's trying to replace meat with a meat-like product, but it's vegan. And in order to recreate this kind of meat-like product, you're then having to compromise enormously
yeah, yeah,
on the actual fabrication of it. And the ingredients list being as long as the Bible is going to put people
yeah,
off, isn't it? Because the whole point of vegan, surely, for me, would be it's more pure, it's more
yeah,
in touch with nature, it's more natural.
yeah,
And when you start playing around with the structure of it to be able to make it taste and look like bacon or a sausage, then I think that's where it kind of went wrong.
yeah. Well,
So,
it's amazing because veganism, that side of veganism basically sort of crashed like a tsunami into the ultra processed food movement. So I think it has taken a hit, but it's always good. All of these things are all just fantastic challenges and make us just move into different ways of doing things. I think it's called pivoting, isn't it? So I think it's right. And all of these awards are for, whether it's our awards or Great Taste or whoever it is, they're all for products which are they're ready-made products. There is a level of processing which is there because no matter how much we cook in home and how many vegetables we like eating, there are times when we just want a bacon frazzle, or we just need a sandwich or we just need a pie,
yeah,
or
absolutely.
where it is. There are I imagine very few people, unless they're completely off grid, that eat everything from the hedgerows from scratch or from farmers markets. Everybody has a processed food somewhere in their diet.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, at the end of the day, let's not, with my kids, for example, movie night, we will have a pizza, we will have a burger, we'll have a hot dog. Because
Yeah.
it's part of a moment that you can have, and I don't think you can really make a sausage from scratch without. Well, maybe you can, but then yeah. Anyway, the point is no one's going to get the equipment necessary to make your own bloody sausages at home.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly.
So of course, there's always a compromise. There's always a trade-off.
Yeah.
They say there's always a trade-off, and a really fantastic night in with your kids, eating some
Yeah.
Doritos with some, whatever, and it's like it's okay. I think there's always
Yes,
gonna be a place for these things, isn't there? Simple as.
definitely.
And what's been your biggest kind of like achievement, do you think, in this time, 17 years there? What's been your the moment you look back on and you think, wow, this is amazing?
That's really hard. I mean, it feels like a steady stream of excellent moments. We had earlier this year, we had two people with celiac disease who'd never had I mean, to be fair, one is from the States and one is from New Zealand. So I'm not surprised, but they'd never had a Scotch egg. And
Okay.
we videoed them having their first bite of Scotch egg, and it was just like amazing. And you must have heard lots of stories from Ryan about how people have just burst into tears eating his donuts
Yeah, it's quite.
because they haven't had it. And
Wow.
that's an amazing, that for me is the most amazing thing
But
when
it's hard to imagine that because I guess unless you live that,
yeah,
then of course you just don't think about it, right? You
yeah.
don't think how privileged you are, I guess, really, that you can consume most things.
Yeah, it's extraordinary, and I do try to, what's the word? I try to bring it in wherever I can, is that for some people, if they eat a certain food, they will die. And I do find that incredibly difficult to get my head around. I don't have any food allergies or intolerances. I stopped eating gluten and dairy for a long time, and I missed cheese hugely. But there's just like that is just totally incomparable to that threat that is constantly hanging over your head if you've got food allergies
Yeah, no,
and
especially when you're eating out.
anaphylactic.
I think eating out is
Yeah,
the worst because you're putting a lot of trust into people in a
yeah,
kitchen, especially where things can happen. I've worked in kitchens. I work with kitchens, and God, it's so easy to do
yeah,
some sort of crossover and make a mistake that could.
yeah.
It's a lot of
Well,
stress, isn't it?
I mean, that is sort of that's quite a nice reflection for us because it's certainly true that if you go to a place, a restaurant or pub or whatever, and they can take care of you and they understand and they can clean, they can use the clean down procedures and they can cater for you specifically, then that's amazing. But as for a mass, like a mass restaurant that doesn't have that attention to detail, they can't. And I think that's sort of why our awards is has that sensitivity built into it, because it is simply a reflection of the fact that people with food allergies somebody needs to be taking care of them.
Mm,
And people might say that it takes a huge amount more effort, but actually if you're looking after that guy who can't eat peanuts, then he's going to come back with his grandparents and his uncles and aunts and his
yeah,
friends, or
right.
I don't know, whatever, and with his kids, because he knows that everyone else can have whatever and he will be looked after, and he's going to be able to walk out the restaurant at the end of the night and not be in fear for his life.
Yeah, right.
So that's another difficult sort of built-in contradiction of all of this, is that actually food is everywhere and for everybody, but there are some people for whom specific care needs to be taken.
Nice. Well, that's a nice mission to kind of highlight that, really, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah.
And what's your next kind of like 12 to 18 months look like? What planned for the Free From Food Awards?
Well, we're thinking of not so much a rebrand, but another kind of simplification of things, which will be exciting, be nice. And we trialed our new judging method at the Christmas Awards, which is always a little bit smaller than the all year round awards. So now we're
Okay.
gonna roll it out for the main awards and the Easter awards. So that'll be good. Yeah, just better and more and bigger and better comms, which is very exciting. We're now working with someone who's going to help us with all of that and fixing all those little gremlins on our website, which mean that people don't see the website for whatever reason or that kind of thing. So it's good. It's very good. I'm very excited. And yeah, just more of the same, but slightly changed, I think.
Okay. And is there anything else you want to share on the podcast that we haven't discussed that is important?
It's all important. I suppose it's just, take care of those people around you who've got food allergies and make sure they feel safe and do everything you can to just look after them, because it's a very difficult thing to live with. So yeah,
Yeah, I
that's
bet. I
that's
bet. Like I
that's
said,
my
I
big
can't imagine. Can't imagine,
yeah.
especially when you've got a young child, right? That's got
Yeah.
a typical allergy like that, like let's say nuts or sesame or whatever.
And I
You know,
guess knowing that you're not alone, I know it's a lot better than it used to be, but people just were felt. It's hard enough when you've got a small baby, even if they can eat anything, but it's incredibly lonely and scary when, you know, you haven't got the right advice or help, and there is much more advice and help and support out there. So
yeah.
that's has to bear in mind.
Well, Cressida, it's been a real pleasure having you on the show today. The Free From Food Awards have clearly done so much more than just recognize great products. You've built a trusted community that's helping shape the future of food in the UK. And I think that really stands out. What really stands out is how these awards are pushing innovation, giving small producers visibility, and reminding the industry that inclusivity and taste can go hand in hand. Thank you for sharing your insights, your passion, and a glimpse behind the scenes of what it takes to champion such an important sector of our industry. And for anyone listening who wants to learn more, check out freefromfoodawards.co.uk and follow their work to discover some inspiring brands and stories. And of course, if anyone's got any free from products that they want to champion and get on there and be judged, visit the website, talk to Cressida, and
Yeah.
get your products on there.
Excellent.
And as always, as well, if you're a food producer, retailer, or in the hospitality business looking to grow, collaborate, or share your story, get in touch. I'd love to hear from you for moving forward on the podcast. Cressida, thank you again. And to our listeners, thank you for tuning into the London Food Network. And of course, if you like, please subscribe and share to your friends and family. And this show, as always, is sponsored by Embrace AI Consultancy, where we help businesses grow through AI and automation. And that's it, really, Cressida. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Sebastian. It's been a pleasure.
Absolutely. Pleasure was mine.